Hi, my name is Rebecca. I was born here in Caracas, Venezuela. I chose to do my project about all the things that make my country so unique from an architectural perspective. However, I wanted to make it a little bit different. Through my life, I've met many people from different countries, since I had the chance to go to international school. Because of this, I thought maybe it would be interesting to compare my country's architecture to other countries' architecture since not so many people know how great we are in that aspect. Also, I want to show how culture is the most important fact that influences how architecture is developed in a place. In this video, we're going to see the amazing architectural work Venezuela has to offer. At the same time, we're going to compare those buildings to other architecture around the world. There would be taken into account modern buildings as well as classic ones. Some specific points are going to be mentioned, such as color, light, texture, rhythm, circulation, and scale. Color. Color is the effect produced on the eye and its associated nerves by light waves on different wavelengths or frequency. Light transmitted from an object to the eye stimulates the different color codes of the retina, thus making possible perception of various colors in the object. Since Venezuela is a tropical country, color is present everywhere, in the abundant vegetation, disease, and especially on the buildings. There are many buildings full of color, for example, El Árbol para Vivir, or Living Tree, and also the Demetrius Demos Museum, both by Fruto Vivas and located in Lecheria and Suate. First, in this museum, color is shown on the front with all the colorful windows. When light hits the facade, if you are standing inside of it, it is beautiful how all the colors are reflected in the interior. Then we have the Árbol para Vivir. It is a colorful apartment residence where color is basically used only as a decoration of the exterior. The use of color is very specific and detailed, remarking the windows, the circulation, and the structure. On the other hand, we have these other buildings from around the world. For example, the Sugama Shinkin Bank in Tokyo, where color is used for mostly at night with colored lights on the white facade. Also, the Contemporary Art Museum of Castilla y León by Mansilla and Tuñón. This stunning, colorful museum won the European Union Prize for Contemporary Architecture, Mies van der Rohe Award in 2007. Then we have the Pecan Library, which is located in London, by Will Alsop for Alsop Architects. For Alsop, it is the act of painting, the state of losing control, its imprecision and intuitiveness that best define its initial vague intentions, and what ultimately brings him close to the mystery of inventing new architecture. Color plays a significant role in perceiving architecture as a whole. The effect that building produces on us results from the interaction of all the senses, and the influence of color cannot be considered a mere decorative addition to an architectural work. Light. Lighting can make a great difference in your home in all aspects. It can help you perform activities more easily. Also, lighting adds beauty to spaces, because light can make a difference between dark and bright spaces. On the other hand, light can make a room look a lot bigger than how it actually is. Lighting mixed with bright colors can make a huge difference. First, we have the Villa Planchar, which is located in Caracas, Venezuela. This house is a great representation of the use of light. This house was specifically designed by the architect Gio Ponte for his clients, the Planchard couple, who wanted a house which every room could look through the house into every other room. The light goes through the entire house without burning the place. Then we have the Plaza Cubierta at the Universidad Central de Venezuela. This is a great example for the great use of light. Carlos Raúl Villanueva in this project worked with different types of covers and materials for the place, so the light could play a really important role. The way the ceiling has different layers, so light can get softly in. Also, the holes left so the sculptures can be lighting. It's really beautiful. From buildings not located in Venezuela, we have the Jubilee Church, which is in Rome, by Richard Mayer. Here we can see the use of glass for huge windows where light can through easily the inner space. However, the shield used to cover the building, since it's made of concrete, avoids light to burn the space inside, instead making the light get in beautifully. Also, in these other pictures, we can see the light fragmented in vertical lines. This is due to the fact that the building is surrounded by galleries. The columns that form the galleries create the beautiful shadows that accentuate the presence of a path. In this one, we can see how the light gets in subtly, creating really bright spaces as well as dark ones. Even though the walls are made of a really dark wood, the use of light makes the space look bigger because of the brightness. Texture. The texture describes the tactile quality of a form. Accurate rendering of an object's texture is the key to very realistic drawing. There are two types of textures: the actual textures and the visual textures. The first one is related to the ones that we can touch, and the second is related to things that their textures are just visual. Texture is everywhere, including the ones that are just visual textures like art. The texture describes the relative smoothness or roughness of a surface. In this picture, the texture of the building is the most important element in its architecture. The skin created with these geometrical shapes that cover the entire building give it a totally different look from the other building around. Then we have Parque Cristal, located here in Caracas, Venezuela. In the Parque Cristal building, the texture and the glass properties create a giant mirror, and the sole use for the glass creates a modern line to the building. The globalization can be seen in the architecture and the way textures are applied in contemporary architecture continues a line Le Corbusier and other modern architects started. Here, even though the building has a very particular shape, the texture given to it helps it portray even more the movement and the appearance of a moving wave. The way the layers are placed and the specific color and texture each one of them have give the illusion of a gigantic shell. Then we have the Jose Antonio Suárez Stadium. A great texture is shown on the ceiling of this stadium. The metal structure, not covered at all, shows the pureness of his great work of architecture, even though it wasn't made thinking about texture but support. For the eye of the man that sees this always comes to mind the feeling of roughness, which is one of the texture's purposes, to imagine what it would feel like to touch that surface. Rhythm. Rhythm is an attribute of any object that is marked by a systematic recurrence of elements, having recognizable relationships between them. In architecture, much of the effects of a building will depend on the harmony, the simplicity, and the power of these rhythmical relationships. There are three types of rhythm: the repetition of shapes, like doors, columns, wall areas, arches, and the like; the repetition of dimensions; and the repetition of difference. Colonial houses are the best example of rhythm. The sequence of the windows and the pattern of colors and texture are the best things to describe the colonial architecture. There is also a rhythm when we notice that all colonial houses are placed together. Most of them only have one floor and look pretty much the same. The spiral is one of the most rhythmical forms because of its combination of repeated curves around a focus. There are a lot of examples in architectural history, like the Roman and the Greeks. For example, the Roman Colosseum. The repetition of arches creates an obvious rhythm. Then we have the Trespa International, which has launched 4 new design concepts for building facades, using Trespa medium panels. The new concepts are a part of Trespa Perspectives, the inspirational source of new ideas for architects, designers, and specifiers, comprising different architectural elements based on the themes of rhythm, depth, and character. All 4 new concepts fall within the theme of rhythm. Here, in this picture, the rhythm is present in the facade. The texture used gives the building a modern and fluent aspect. Rhythm is consistency with colors and lines, but in this picture we can observe that the rhythm is present by the use of arcs, as well as in the first picture at of the Roman Colosseum. Even though this is architecture from a different culture than the Roman or Venezuela, we can relate the use of rhythm by the same pattern of arches that were used on the windows, for example in Venezuela. Rhythm makes an artwork seem active. Circulation. The horizontal circulation determines the basic shape and character of an entire structure. First, we have the Teresa Carreño complex, which is an important horizontal project, but in its counterpart we can see the Parque Central complex, with the tallest skyscrapers in South America, showing the importance of high-rise buildings in Caracas, and how we can see a vertical evolution in the city. Also, the size of the actual Caracas Valley, along with the demographic growth, was an important factor for that evolution. In the Teresa Carreño complex, it's more the it's more present the horizontal circulation. Then we have the Louvre Museum, which is a great example of horizontal circulation. In architecture, there are three types of buildings: permission, horizontal, and vertical. Since this museum is a horizontal building, its main circulation is horizontal. Of course, there is vertical circulation present, represented by the stairs to go from one floor to another. However, to view the paintings and works of art, people walk along its entire length. Then we have the Eiffel Tower in Paris, which can be compared to the Parque Central Towers, since it's another example of vertical circulation. Last but not least, we have scale. There are public constructions that have a massive scale, such as airports, highways, or bus terminals, although there are buildings with smaller scales, like personal houses or residential buildings, depending on its size. The scale helps us to imagine the flows inside of the building and to see the actual size of the building. So we have the Iglesia de la Chiquinquirá, which is located here in Caracas. This is a great example of scale. It is a huge cathedral with a giant scale. We can see in the picture above the size of the people compared to the space. However, since it's a church, it doesn't have an important impact to its surroundings when it comes to massive amount of visitors. If you compare it to an airport or to massive scale buildings, it might not seem so big, but compared to where it's located, close to a house neighborhood, it is actually a huge building and it gives a large scale to the place. Finally, we can see how beautiful Venezuela is in terms of architecture. Learning about all those aspects, color, light, texture, rhythm, circulation, and scale, give us a different perspective about each space from now on. Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Rebecca. I was born here in Caracas, Venezuela. I chose to do my project about all the things that make my country so unique from an architectural perspective. However, I wanted to make it a little bit different. Through my life, I've met many people from different countries, since I had the chance to go to international school. Because of this, I thought that maybe it would be interesting to compare my country's architecture to other countries' architecture, since not so many people know how great we are in that aspect. Also, I want to show how culture is the most important fact that influences how architecture is developed in a place. In this video, we're going to see the amazing architectural work Venezuela has to offer. At the same time, we're going to compare those buildings to other architecture around the world. There would be taken into account modern buildings as well as classic ones. Some specific points are going to be mentioned, such as color, light, texture, rhythm, circulation, and scale.